Well, President Trump is warning about a coming tax hike if Congress doesn't pass his big, beautiful bill. Watch.
Maybe the biggest thing we're working on, maybe bigger than tariffs in a certain sense, is we call it the one big, beautiful bill. The Democrats are trying to stop it at every turn. It would mean a 58% tax hike if they were successful, and lots of other bad things beyond the tax hike. But with us, it'll be the biggest tax cut in American history. How are we doing with the bill?
We're doing great. We're day in, day out, hour by hour negotiations to make sure your stuff is in there.
Well, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich joins me now. Newt, it looks like the president finally is really turning up the heat on Congress to get the bill done. Just in time, right?
Well, look, I think, first of all, this is all normal. This is the Constitution at work. The House has a set of ideas. The Senate has a set of ideas. They have to negotiate. Ultimately, they'll come to an agreement. The president is absolutely committed, as is Speaker Johnson, to getting this thing done early. And I would say to any Republican who doesn't get it, this is really about the 2026 election.
Yes.
You need to pass this bill this summer in order to be in a position that you can, in fact, get the economy rolling so that next year you have a Trump boom in the context of which people will reelect the Republican House and increase the number of Republicans in the Senate. The more you delay it, if you delay it past early summer, say June, it gets into September, I think you run a real risk that it won't take effect fast enough to be helpful next year, and that would be a disaster for the president and for the Republicans.
Right. Well, what you were talking about normalcy, what's not normal is, just to emphasize once again, we do have a tax hike in December 31st or January 1st, 2026, if in fact they don't do it before then. I mean, the tax cuts of 2017 are going to expire. Plus, we won't get those tax cuts that the president campaigned on in the election.
Right. Therefore, I suspect, given President Trump's performance up to now, at some point they'll find an agreement in the House.
Right.
And I have to say, Speaker Johnson has done an extraordinary job of listening to everybody. So they'll keep reshaping it till they get to the number of votes to pass. Then they'll get to the Senate, where Senator Thune's done a darn good job as the majority leader so far. They'll have to do some stuff. They'll probably have to go to conference. And they'll probably bring out a bill slightly different than either the House or the Senate, and then they'll have to pass it. And at each stage, my personal hope is that the president will barnstorm the country. There are at least 10 districts that he carried that have Democrats, and to have him go into those districts, have 50 or 60,000 people at a rally, explain the bill. Remember, the Republicans increase spending on Medicaid every year. Anyone who tells you they're cutting Medicaid is lying, whether it's the news media or the Democrats. So we need the president driving that kind of message home. The bill will then be acceptable. It'll pass, and he'll sign it.
Yeah, quickly, Newt, we don't have time to run the soundbite, but the president yesterday spoke about how important that meeting at the Vatican was with Zelensky in order to pass the minerals deal with Ukraine. How ironic is that in the Vatican, in the biggest house of peace we have in the whole world, they came up with a deal to end a war?
You know, Callisto was the ambassador to the Vatican.
Yeah, I remember.
I think that Pope Francis would think it was wonderful that a step towards peace occurred in St. Peter's. The picture is iconic of the two of them sitting right there in the middle of St. Peter's. And I tell you, it's a signal to Putin. His whole stupid strategy is blowing up. Instead of driving all the way to Ukraine's European border, he's now going to have Americans working on minerals on the Russian border. It's the opposite of what he wanted, and it's going to get worse the longer he avoids
it. It really typifies the thinking out of the box mentality that the Trump administration, led of course by Donald Trump himself, have. They think out of the box, a great financial deal that creates peace that the last administration couldn't find. Newt Gingrich, you've got to leave it at that. Thank you very much.